Hello everyone, welcome into Coach Greg Sports. This is the CFL DFS video for week number 12. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going through my CFL DFS sheet for week number 12, and I'm going to go through each relevant player, talk about whether or not I would consider them a GPP option, cash game option, GPP paydown option, and then whether or not I'll be kind of overweight, underweight to the field on them, in line with the field, slightly overweight, slightly underweight. If you guys do have any other additional questions beyond that, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the Roughnecks. We got Trevor Harris, who returned at quarterback last week. Looked pretty good in there, too. He's played really well so far this season, so $8,400. GPP option, pretty reasonable price tag for him, so I will be slightly overweight to him once again this week. And then at running back, AJ Alouette is out once again due to his hip injury. He was back for, I believe, now 2 weeks and then kind of aggravated once again. So Frankie Hickson will be the primary back for them, $5,300. Kind of a paydown option. Will be overweight to the field on him once again. And then we're going to move down to wide receiver. Aju is back this week. He missed last week due to a finger injury. I'm not sure exactly what to make of this wide receiver room at this point in time. So probably get a little bit underweight to most of them. But Aju is back, as well as Keon Schaefer-Baker, who returns from the 6-game injury list. He had been previously dealing with a shoulder injury. Both are listed on the depth chart at this point in time. And then we have Mitchell Picton, who is out this week due to an ankle injury. And then Duncan Busby was moved back to the practice squad. So some pretty competent wide receivers here. Not really sure who's going to stand out, especially, with Trevor Harris kind of being back now. And then, kind of all this wide receiver group being together once again. Some of them for the first time all season. Dante Myers has done really well in recent weeks, so GPP option if you want to get there. And then Keyshawn Johnson at $4,100. Potential paydown option, but I think with Schaefer-Baker being back, it might hurt him overall. Then we move down to the Rough Riders defense. $3,600, pretty reasonable price tag there, so they are a decent paydown option, slightly overweight to the field on them as they do go against the Toronto Argonauts this week. Then we move down to that Argonauts team. Chad Kelly is back and listed as the starter for this week. So GPP paydown option there at $6,500. Min price tag at quarterback. Slightly overweight to the field on him. I would say overweight, but I think the field's probably going to be pretty high on him with the name recognition and everything else like that and the minimum price tag. He's probably a cash game play if you want to go with him. Obviously, a couple different guys that you could use in cash game settings for quarterback position this week overall. Then we're going to move down to running back with Kadeem Carey. He's $10,400 now. He does have decent upside, but GPP option probably going to be slightly underweight to the field on him, as we do have some other value at the running back position. Beyond him, Daniel Adeboye, limited on Sunday, didn't practice Monday, full on Tuesday due to an ankle and groin injury. Technically listed as questionable. Technically listed as a game time decision on the depth chart, but not playing him either way. And then for that wide receiver room, kind of just, whoever you want to roll out there at this point in time. Maybe if you think there's somebody that has really good chemistry with Chad Kelly, then go out and play them. Maybe that's DeMonte Coxie, maybe it's Tavares Daniels, just based on that recognition with him in the past. But I did have Mekhi Polk just at $2,600 since he kind of had the big game last time, whereas kind of a paydown option if you want to get there. But whoever you think is going to have a solid game for this Argonauts team, definitely worth playing. All these guys are relatively cheap at this point in time, and with Chad Kelly being back, if he comes back with a vengeance, there is going to be some upside with some of these guys of this group. It kind of remains to be seen who that will ultimately end up being, though. And then we move down to the Argonauts defense, $4,100. GPP option if you want to get there against the Rough Riders. If they get some pressure on Trevor Harris, could be all right game, but will be slightly underweight to the field on them just in general. And then we move down to the Tiger Cats. It has been announced that Taylor Powell will be out this week due to that head injury. I believe he suffered a concussion. We'll see who ultimately ends up getting the start, whether they go right back to Bo Levi Mitchell or Harrison Frost, who did get some mop-up duty last week. And then Talia Tagovailoa has been promoted to assumingly be the third quarterback for this week. And then at running back, we got James Butler, $9,900. GPP option in line with the field. He most notably missed last week's game, which let Greg Bell have a pretty solid game overall. If he were to not be on the depth chart for whatever reason, then Greg Bell would be a strong GPP option as well. But it is assumed that James Butler will be back for this week overall. And then in terms of the Tiger Cats wide receivers, Luther is out due to head injury as well as Tyler Chernetsky. So probably going to see Desmond Patton active, maybe see another wide receiver get called up as well. But kind of as we talked about in recent weeks, mainly interested in Shamar Bridges, $8,200 GPP option. Probably going to be overweight to the field on him once again. If you want to take some shots on Stephen Dunbar, Tim White, Keandre Smith, you can definitely do that at the same time as well. And then we're going to move down to that Ticats defense. $4,700, way too much for them at this point in time. So we'll be massively, massively underweight to them, as I will have no exposure to them this week overall. Then we move down to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Zach Collaros at quarterback, $8,700. Kind of rounding into form, GPP option. Probably going to be slightly overweight to him this week. Kind of depends on how that quarterback position all ends up shaking out and kind of what his ownership is, though. And then at running back, we got Brady Oliveira, $10,700. GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field. I feel like the field has slowly been rising back up on him, which is something that probably should have been happening all along. At fullback, we have Michael Chris Ike on the 6-game injury list, but was able to practice in full on Wednesday. He is technically listed for this week's game, so we'll see whether or not he's back or not. But we're not really interested in playing fullbacks for CFL DFS just in general. And then in terms of their wide receiver room, Nick Duminsky coming off a really strong game, $7,300. GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him once again. Kenny Lawler did return last week, and he's only $3,000, so it looks like a really strong GPP option. Probably going to be in line with the field, maybe slightly overweight to the field on him. He could potentially be a cash game option at the same time as well. Ontario Wilson kind of took that backseat with Kenny Lawler being back last week, so more of a dart thrower, kind of a GPP option, maybe lower than the field on him just in general. Kedrick Wheatfall was able to practice a little bit last week, I know, but was not active for that game. We'll see what his status is moving forward. Technically, he's not listed on DraftKings. Lucky Whitehead did operate as the return man in their most recent game, $3,400. Interesting paydown option, probably going to be in line with the field on him as well. And then moving down to that Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense, some upside to be had there, but at $4,700, I really don't like that price tag. So GPP option there, but will be slightly underweight to the field on them overall. Then we move down to the BC Lions. Vernon Adams did not practice once again on Wednesday due to the knee injury. Nathan Rourke, who returned last week on the short week, did not play very good overall, but $9,000 GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him once again. You know, if the field's a little bit lower on him, then maybe we'll be slightly overweight, but do like his upside once again, and I think week one for him being back, you know, there is some pressure there. There is some things that didn't go right and wrong and everything else like that, but it's still getting used to the offense, getting used to the players around you at the same time as well. Then we move down to William Stanback at $8,400. GPP option, slightly underweight to the field on him. I think he's a solid guy, but I think there's also other value at running back this week as well. And then in terms of the receivers, mainly just getting a Keon Hatcher at $9,200. GPP option, probably in line with the field. If you want to take a shot on one of the other guys, you can definitely feel free to do so at the same time as well. And then for that BC Lions defense, $3,800 GPP paydown. I will be underweight to the field on them. I do like the price tag. It could be an attractive matchup, kind of depending on how the Redblacks come out and play, but they have been playing pretty well as of late. Then we move down to the Redblacks. I'm assuming Jeremiah Masoli will remain the quarterback. There was a weird thing on the transaction page where it said Drew Brown was deleted for the game roster, but he's still showing up on the injury report. So we'll have to monitor that pretty closely. Was listed as full on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll see who ultimately ends up getting the start. But if it's Jeremiah Masoli, $6,800 pay down option, probably in line with the field. Maybe ever so slightly overweight to the field on him this week overall. And then we have Raquel Armstead at running back, $9,000. Probably a GPP option once again. Probably going to be in line with the field ultimately on him. Not really too much to make a stand there overall. And then we move down to the wide receiver position. You know, Justin Hardy's still GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him at $10,500. Braylon Addison, $2,700. Looks like a solid paydown option once again, probably in line with the field. You know, if you want to take some shots on like Dominique Rhymes or Jalen Acklin, you can definitely do that as well. Acklin actually paid off pretty well last week, which is a guy that I'm typically not on, but last week looked all right. Could be the same case once again this week with Khalil Pimbleton still on that 6-game injured list. And then for that Redblacks defense, paydown option, maybe slightly overweight to the field on them. Just kind of depends on how this Lions team looks overall. But Nathan Rourke, pretty shaky week one. If he's anything like that in week two, there could be some upside there as well. But I do expect that this Redblacks defense will be pretty popular, and they have played pretty well so far this season. Then we move down to the Edmonton Elks. We got McCoy Bethel-Thompson, Trey Ford. We'll see who end up starting at quarterback. Trey Ford was limited in practice on Wednesday due to a chest injury. We'll monitor his status very closely to see whether or not he'll play. If he does play, I do like him in GPP. If he doesn't play, you know, you could take a dart throw on kind of McCoy Bethel-Thompson at $7,800. Definitely not a bad price tag. And then at the running back position, Javon Leake, who's kind of been the primary back as of late, $7,600. Limited practice on Wednesday due to hip injury. He left their most recent game early. And Justin Rankin played really well in his absence in that game, although Kevin Brown was on the 1-game injured list, even though he was practicing full last week. Would not be surprised if it's Kevin Brown and Justin Rankin as the two running backs this week. Justin Rankin at $4,600 would be my preferred option of those two, kind of a paydown option. Probably slightly overweight to the field on him. But we'll see ultimately how that ends up playing out just because he had that 3-touchdown game. So a lot of the field could be on him this week overall. Then we move into the wide receivers. I don't have too much of a stand here. It obviously kind of depends a little bit on who's starting at quarterback. If it is McCoy Bethel-Thompson, then we're a little bit more interested in like Curly Gittens and Hergy Maala. If it's Trey Ford, we're probably a little bit more interested in Eugene Lewis and Tevin Jones. But if you want to play any of them, feel free to do so. The one note here at wide receiver probably is going to be that Gavin Cobb will operate as the return man, and that's probably whether or not Javon Leake is active or not. Javon Leake playing more running back has opened up more opportunities in the return game for Gavin Cobb just in general, and there could be a little bit more upside to be had there this week overall. And then in terms of that Elks defense, kind of a pay-down option, $3,500. Going against Montreal Alouettes, I'm probably going to be in line with the field. I don't think too many people are going to be rolling out the Elks defense this week overall. And then we move down in the Montreal Alouettes. So Cody Fajardo, a quarterback, was able to practice in full on Wednesday due to hamstring injury. We'll see ultimately whether or not he's the starter this week or not. Davis Alexander has played really well, so he might have earned, a little bit more leash at this point in time. But whoever ultimately ends up starting at the quarterback position for this team, GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on them once again as well. And then at running back, we got Walter Fletcher. He's all the way up to $10,200. GPP option. I know he's been really involved in the receiving game, but I will still be slightly underweight to the field on him this week overall. And then we're going to move down to the wide receiver position. Tyson Philpott looks like he should still be out once again this week. Julian Grant was able to practice in a limited capacity on Wednesday due to a shoulder injury, so we'll see whether or not he's back this week or not. Reggie White Jr. was moved over to the practice squad, and they didn't bring back Austin Mack, which is going to be a pretty big deal for this week overall. We'll talk about him here in a second. Tyler Snead on that 6-game injury list did not practice on Wednesday due to that foot injury. We'll see if he's trending towards coming back or not. But mainly this week for this group, going to be interested in Charleston Rambo, $5,900 GPP option. Will be overweight to the field on him. And Austin Mack, $5,500. If he is looking anything like Austin Mack last year, this is going to be a crazy, ridiculous price tag. Probably a cash game option in that scenario. Technically, I still have it listed as GPP, but will be overweight to the field on him. And then Alouettes defense, $4,200. GPP option will be slightly overweight to the field on them going against the Edmonton Elks. There could be some pretty good opportunities we had there at the same time as well. And then last but not least, the Calgary Stampeders are the one lone team on the bye this week. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on my CFL DFS sheet for week number 12. As always, if you have any questions related to CFL DFS for week number 12, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then as always, I'll be listing all the depth charts down there as well as any other major news. But anything else beyond that will be found on my Patreon page, patreon.com/CoachCraigSports. This sheet will be constantly updating as we do get more depth chart news, as we get more injury news, everything else like that. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core picks Monday through Friday. Have the CFL DFS video, this video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesdays. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you are a brand new user on any one of those three sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match on your first three deposits, I believe up to $2,500 in total aggregate. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for this week's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tune in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, a good weekend overall, and some pretty good luck in CFL DFS for week number 12.